And as soon as he regains consciousness,
Bring Invincible here. He is the key.
Episode 1 of Season 4, with the fresh Dark Blood storyline unveiled at Season 3's conclusion, it's somewhat challenging to determine how events will unfold from the beginning, as we must question whether the show will dive directly into that plot thread, or if the creators will allow it to simmer in the background. It could also simply be much ado about nothing that gets resolved in 5 minutes, with its sole purpose being to generate hype for Season 4 and nothing more. If I had to guess how this season will commence, I believe it will start with whatever is meant to occur with the fresh narrative thread. But I also don't believe that the storyline will be extremely lengthy or significant or anything of that nature. I think it'll simply be a less crucial mini-arc similar to the one where Battle Beast was introduced, setting up seeds for Dinosaurus. I also believe this mini-arc is leading toward Dinosaurus now because Dinosaurus just shows up in the comics without explanation, and there's nothing clarifying the character's origins, and if there is, it wasn't memorable or noteworthy, as I've forgotten. I think Dinosaurus originating from hell or something connected to it, despite his philanthropic ultimate goals, could contribute much more to the character. Naturally, this story beat will follow Mark as he's on Earth, and he'll deal with whatever occurs there. I anticipate all of this to be in Episode 1. Now, returning to the main storyline of Invincible. Episode 2 will commence with us going back to Nolan and Alan's journeys from issue 66 to the conclusion of issue 67. Every single element, including Space Racer's debut, the history of the Viltrumites, and more being addressed with the second episode of the series. It concludes with the Scourge virus being revealed and Theatis warning Nolan that he'll deploy it, if necessary, against the Viltrumites, even if it demands his own life to be given up. I think this is the ideal way to wrap up the second episode, as this season will be Viltrumite focused and its climax will be the Viltrumite War. It shows us precisely what to anticipate. Although this is only 2 issues in 1 episode, I think it's obvious that all those journeys that Nolan and Alan experienced within the time frame of those 2 issues will most likely be elaborated upon, especially since them being close friends is a quite important plot element to the story. Episode 3 will function as an episode to provide us with plenty of Mark on Earth before he gets ready to depart for the Viltrumite War. This means that Episode 3 will be addressing the debut of Dinosaurus, which functions as a perfect opening scene into the episode. I mean, Mark lifting the boulder and being attacked by dinosaurs out of nowhere and then overwhelmed by his philosophy right afterward is an excellent way to draw us in. We'll need to get something that hints to Dinosaurus being a being from hell to wrap up that fresh story arc from Episode 1 as well. We'll then get the meal that includes the discussion between Mark and Eve's father, conquest, healing, and departure from Earth, and the return of the Sequence. All of these conflicts will be finished by the time this episode concludes, and we'll get Cecil returning at Mark's house at the end of Episode 2 as a cliffhanger. This episode will address issues 68 through 70. I also think there's a possibility that the Wolfman and Invincible team-up issue can show up during one of these episodes, but not really, only because if they were planning to do that, they would have done it before the Invincible War in order to give his appearance during that event some additional impact. I could be mistaken, though. Episode 4 has us entering the preparations for the Viltrumite War. I think the show is going to add much more to the events of issue 71. In the comics, the build-up to the Viltrumite War is practically non-existent. You sort of knew it was going to occur because of Conquest escaping and giving Earth a thorough look before doing so, but that's about it. So I think for Episode 3, we'll start with the Flaxen invasion that's going to finish in about 3 to 4 minutes, with Robot going through the portal. We then get the reunion between Omni-Man, Debbie, and Oliver. Not only this, but we also get the discussion between Mark and Eve before he departs. And we transition to the spaceship with all of our fighters. Of course, the same thing as before, but with the show expanding on each discussion and reunion, it doesn't move as quickly as it did in the comics. After this, we'll get into the arrival of Conquest that finishes issue 71, the rematch between Mark and Conquest that ends with issue 72, and I also think that this rematch will be expanded upon to be more than just Mark grabbing Conquest by the throat and dragging him all over the planet. This episode ending with Mark and Conquest on the ground unconscious after their second, extremely close battle. Episode 5 will open up with issue 73 and Theatis panicking over the apparent loss of Omni-Man, Mark, and Oliver, but he soon regains his composure. And we're reminded that there's more Viltrumites coming after the Coalition than just conquest. And this will follow the original storyline of Omni-Man and Oliver bonding on the planet that Mark is recovering on. While the war's playing out with the other characters like Alan, Tech Jacket, and Thetis, I believe that Nolan and Oliver's discussions will remain the same, as it'll be quite lengthy in the show. But I'm pretty sure they're going to expand on Tech Jacket a fair bit, as this is the perfect time to do so, while the main characters are on standby. We don't have a side comic for him like we did back then. And as for Alan, we're already well familiar with him, so he'll be the lead for the episode or something like that. Maybe we'll get more scenes with them fighting. I think episode 5 will be concluding in the first half of issue 74, where Mark finally awakens from his coma. I think this is the best way to approach it, as it gives us an entire episode to focus on the father-son relationship of Nolan and Oliver, while giving us plenty of content relating to the cast outside of Earth. Concluding with reintroducing Mark into the story, episode 6 will be picking up from where we left off with Mark awakening in the previous episode. But it'll have the scene of Nolan telling Mark to prepare to rejoin the battle and speaking about his battles with Conquest right after. The two scenes will play in sequence, unlike in the comics where one of them plays, and then Tech Jacket's in bed with a girl, and that's interrupting the scene for some reason. They'll just play straight through this time around. From there, we get Thragg's monologue, everybody fighting on Telstria, Team Omni-Man rejoining the fight and forcing the Viltrumites to fall back, the preparations for the final battle of the war, and the arrival of Thragg and the final battle. I think they're going to extend much of this battle, as everybody who isn't Mark or Omni-Man doesn't get shown doing much. They also know how much we love Battle Beast, and I highly doubt he's only getting 3 panels worth of screen time like he did in the comics, so they got it extended. I see episode 6 concluding with the destruction of planet Viltrum, the death of Thetis, and Thragg's iconic "You Are All Next." Episode 6 will cover issues 74 to 75. Episode 7, the penultimate episode of Season 4, will contain issues 76 through 77. I think at this point it goes without saying, and it's a very easy way to set up the final episode. Episode 7 will begin with Thragg destroying everybody easily with many key moments, such as Omni-Man saying that fighting Thragg is basically impossible, Battle Beast meeting Thragg and Thragg choosing to spare Mark and Omni-Man despite their defeat. I'm expecting a 1-to-1 adaptation of the two issues, so after their battle against Thragg, we'll see everybody meet up to figure out where the Viltrumites have fled to. Mark figuring out that they went to Earth and being extremely impatient when trying to get back. And when they do get back, we'll see that Mark and Nolan search the entire planet, celebrate over the fact that they were wrong about the Viltrumites coming to Earth the entire time, only to find Thragg floating behind them as he says,
We very much are here.
I believe this is the perfect setup to the final episode of Season 4, as it leaves viewers completely shocked and perplexed. It's a peak cliffhanger. Episode 8 will continue where issue 77 left off, and it will conclude with issue 78. This is where we see that Thragg actually didn't show up on Mark and Nolan to fight, but instead proposed something of a truce. After Mark punches him in the face and then does nothing to him, Mark realizes that it's pointless to even fight Thragg. So he listens. Thragg and the rest of the Viltrumites will reside on Earth to peacefully produce more offspring with as many humans as possible. And if Mark doesn't agree with this, they will have to fight here and now. Mark knows that this will result in the entire Earth being eradicated, so he reluctantly complies. Thragg congratulates Mark for making the correct decision, as him agreeing to this has just saved the lives of everybody on Earth, and he flies away, making Mark sit in silence. The rest of Episode 8 plays out the same exact way issue 78 did. Mark meets Eve once more, and they reconcile. Nolan and Debbie meet once more, and Debbie gives Nolan another chance, and all the concluding plot points to the Viltrumite War are shown. The final scene of Episode 8 shows Alan walking into the room where the Scourge virus is contained. And the final line of the season is, "For the good of the universe, eradicate all Viltrum life forever. Make sure I did not die in vain." I will also put the end credit scene, where we see Cecil has made every Invincible variant into a reaniman. That said, this about covers my thoughts on Season 4. Let me know what you guys think down below and share your predictions about Season 4 because, I could use some more insight. And if you want full breakdown video of Season 4 comic-wise, comment below, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and bell the ring for notification.